That's good. Let's go into this question. I think this kind of ties into a lot of what we've been talking about. This is a very heavy question.
All right.
And
I'll do my best.
Yeah, I don't really have an answer for this. I have a couple ideas, but maybe you will. All right, how do I make sense? How do I make sense of why some of my most spirit-led goals did not succeed? Do I just have to work harder or try a completely different approach? Is it not yet God's timing or simply not part of his plan? And when the distinction is hazy, how in my heart do I know the difference? And then she goes on to say, God is always looking out for me and guiding me, but as I grow in faith, he doesn't show me the answers as clearly as before. He makes me work for it. And he says, she says, don't just say to trust in him and step out in faith. Taking risks is incredibly hard for me, and I don't roll well without clarity. I still need to rationalize things. This keeps blocking me, and I need to get unstuck. So
yeah,
that's a really good question. So the question is, how do I, when people feel their most spirit-led decisions, when they're stepping out and they really feel like God is telling them to do something, but it doesn't always succeed. Right?
Yeah.
Is this something that God's not giving you yet? Is it just not in his plan? How do we know the difference?
Yeah, well, I would say first and foremost, I think sometimes God can speak to us and say, hey, this is where I want you to move. Mm-hmm. And then we have this big picture of what that is going to look like. Mm-hmm. So I would say first and foremost, maybe the very things that God wants to add to you, the weaponry, the tools, mm-hmm. to give you a bigger toolkit, mm-hmm. because the bigger purpose for maybe he's going to have for you down the road, mm-hmm. he needs you to walk through something now.
Yep.
So what happens is I think God sometimes can call you and say, hey, listen, I want you to start this business. You run this business, let's say. And the business ultimately fails. Mm-hmm. We think, well, God didn't speak to me. I didn't hear God. Mm-hmm. But maybe along the lines, what you learned in the failure of that business allows you to move on and become the CEO of one of the biggest corporations in that sector, in that segment.
Yep.
So I think what it is it's my ability to understand that God is speaking to me and he's giving me enough clarity to pick my foot up and set it down in the next spot.
Yep.
I just think if God spoke to me perfectly and I knew everything, I'd screw it up.
Yeah, that's good. And I definitely would agree in that everything that I'm doing right now, I feel like God, not to sound super spiritual, but God told me it was spirit-led early, like 16, 17, like right when I got saved. I knew I would be making music. I knew I'd be making music that glorified him, that pointed people to him. I knew I would be in front of Christians and non-Christians, playing churches and non-churches, and I knew that I just knew that was the vision for my life.
But how many failures?
Oh yeah,
along the way, right?
Tons, and tons. And you know what? And one, there's tons of failure. Two, even now today, and I wake up and I'm like, dude, I'm pumped. Like I don't have a job. My wife can stay at home. This is literally dream scenario. And so few people ever get to this point, but it's still not the way I envisioned it. It's still not what I expected. Right. It's still like, okay, cool, I'm here, but there's so much. One, there's so much more to go. There's so much more to do, and it's not. None of it is the way you expected.
That's right.
And so I think so that. But I think one of the things that, again, as I'm dealing with a lot of artists and creatives, is that I had to go do a bunch of stuff that I hated.
Yeah.
To actually appreciate what it is that I do now, right?
Yeah.
And I think for you as a pastor, right, like you didn't necessarily set out to be the head pastor of a church, but like you did all these other things at that church, and then now that you're finally in the position where like, okay, cool, I'm walking in what I believe if people know, you can look back in hindsight and be like, this is exactly what you should have been doing, right? But you walked through being the kids pastor, the janitor, the worship pastor, right?
Everything, yeah.
And it got you to the place you're at now. And so I think not being afraid to go and work a job you hate or do something that fills a practical need or go bivocational, right?
Yeah.
You were at one point the worship pastor, you were kind of transitioning to being the executive pastor, and you were working on an album, and you were communicating occasionally from the platform. And it was like brutal.
Super schizophrenic.
Right. Yeah, it was like brutal. Yeah. So like, to speak to that a little bit, like, dude, working a job is great.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I read this article where they said there's like 5.9 million jobs right now that can't be filled, that pay 50, 60, 70, 100,000 a year.
Yeah.
Because they're all dirty jobs.
That's right.
That people don't want to do.
People want to do
but
it.
they're great paying jobs.
That's
and
right.
I'm thinking like, dude, if you can go make 100,000 a year cleaning stuff, work your 40 hours, you could take that and go put that into your business. Go do that for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And put that into your business, and now you have a platform to launch from. You don't
Yeah.
need to borrow money or get investors, right?
Man,
but everybody just wants to. I'm 18. I want to go do music full time.
Dude, there's a lot in what you just said. Like my head is like exploding right now when because I think what you're saying is so right on. Look, I think the younger you are, the more you feel like everything is permanent. The older you are, the more you feel like things are not permanent.
Wow. Yep.
So when you're young, it's hard to see the job that you're doing that you hate as not being forever. Because the mindset is like, I got to do this forever. Every day becomes like eternity. And instead, I think the older I've gotten, I've realized, man, this thing that I'm doing that I don't like is the exercise in the gym that I hate that the personal trainer makes me do, but allows me to run faster, jump farther, go higher, and ultimately reap the rewards of what I want to see in life. Right. But what we talk about is we don't want to do these jobs because we don't like them. And there's so much that we're being given. There's so much growth in those really just horrible things. That, I mean, no one wants to raise their hand and be like, I want to go do that. But I think if we look at the opportunities as investment, someone is going to pay you and invest into your dream. Every job out there that potentially you look at that you say, I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do in my life. Right. I don't see how that's going to help me. Right. Look at that job as a venture capitalist willing to pay you to gain experience, to take with you so that you can now fund with mental resource, capacity you've learned, and money, the dream that you have. Yeah,
that's good. That's good. And I think it's all in that process that different people are in different places. And I think when you do something you don't necessarily want to do, it'll quickly reveal and give you more passion for the thing that you do want to do.
I think it gives you a lot of clarity really quick about really what you're cut out for too. You know, something that you said, you know, you're living the dream because you don't have a job per se, but you own a business. You're running an organization. The flip side to all this is that your ability to embrace the jobs that you don't like to do early on that help fund and resource the dream job or the business that you want to own. The reality is that you wake up in the morning and some of the tension that you feel in your life, Rue, and I know that I feel running an organization, is there's a lot of my week that I'm doing stuff that I don't want to do. And so I think the maturity is, hey, listen, if you want to climb some ladder or reach some place, you're always, even if you're the chief CEO, you're going to have to do things that you don't want to do. The job is going to require you to do stuff that you just don't like. Learn the lesson now and let someone pay you for that. You're getting a guaranteed paycheck to learn that.
100%.
So it doesn't ever change.
It builds character, integrity, work ethic. So that's good. Well, there you have it. How could they find you, get more information on you? Just Movement Church app?
Yeah, go to movement.org, download our app, the Movement Church app. You can find our podcast on the podcast app through iTunes. Follow at Pat Lynch Fox, pretty much all the social media platforms.
What question do you have for the listeners? Do you have any question for the people that are listening and that you would want to hear from them?
You know what my biggest question is right now? And as I've been doing our podcast is, what are the things that you, as a young creative, specifically young creatives, I'm talking like millennials down, what are the things that you're starving to hear from guys like me that are a little bit ahead of you? What are the things that you're starving to hear? And how can we best speak into those things? Because I think what happens is guys that are sitting where I'm at, we feel afraid to speak because we feel like the generation doesn't want to listen. But the thing that you guys have been teaching me is that you guys are saying, we want to hear, give us good content. So I really genuinely am in a place where I'm having a lot of conversations with younger people and going like, what is it that you want to hear? What's your heart? And what do you want me to speak into?
That's good. So what do you guys want to hear? Leave a comment in the comment section. tweet, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for checking us out. Make sure you're subscribed, following Pat Lynch Vokes on Instagram, Twitter, Ruslan KD. And if you like this, share it with some people. Thank you guys so much. Peace.
Thanks, Ru.